Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Dean, and today I will be accompanied by my lovely teammates Drew and Leslie as we give a detailed and thorough presentation regarding our final project for CSC 4370. Let's begin. Before we begin formally, let's go through our agenda for this presentation. First, we will address this web application's creators. Our delegated responsibilities and assignments will be explained. Next, we will discuss the process behind our project's creation, the about page of our project, if you will. Next, we will discuss various aspects of the project, including the home page that introduces the user to the website's purpose, the sign-up page where the user is navigated to after wanting to use Pulse Realty services, the login that will allow a user to access the full site with their newly created or prior created credentials, the seller's dashboard, where if the user is a seller, they can see a unique page with all of their pending property listings and also add new ones. And last but not least, we'll briefly discuss backend and how our data is saved and called back to from the database. Let's address these lovely creators, aka us. We have our team leader Leslie, who was responsible for the home page and user registration, Drew, who was responsible for user login and redirection to proper pages, and then myself, who was responsible for the seller dashboard and adding their listings. Next, our project summary. Our project connects buyers and sellers to their dream properties by offering a comprehensive range of services tailored to meet each of their needs. Individuals will go through their user registration process to sign up for an account on our website, which will allow them to access various features and services according to their buyer/seller status. Users will fill out a registration from which they will require their name, email address, username, and password. These are the input fields where users enter the information during registration, and they are clearly labeled and are easy to use. The backend handles user registration, authentication, and authorization. It stores user data in a database and manages user sessions. The information entered during the registration process will be validated and stored in appropriate database tables. Before we continue, let's show off the demonstration of our site.
Hey everyone, my name is Leslie, and for Project 3, I worked on Milestone 1, which included the homepage and user registration. So, for the homepage itself, I use HTML, CSS, and PHP to create an aesthetically pleasing landing page for the user. When the user goes to our website, they're presented with easy to understand summary of our services that we provide as a realty group. So the initial problem that I encountered when working on this milestone was that my original plan was to use Flowbyte, which is a CSS library that is going to make everything more easy just to create like an aesthetically pleasing website. But the problem was that using Flowbyte, the CSS is hosted from the Flowbyte website, and when doing it locally on my server and checking if everything was working, it was fine. But when uploading it to COD, um, not any of the CSS wasn't working. So that's when I realized that COD itself couldn't host other websites. And I had to backtrack a little bit and do the CSS. I had to hard code the CSS in order to create like a similar look that Flowbyte was giving us. Um, so within the home.php file, the main template PHP file is called, and this is done to create a personalized greeting for the user once they are logged into the homepage. In the second image below, you can see that this is done through PHP by assigning a session variable that calls the user's name once logged in to give them a greeting that is followed by their name. If they aren't logged in, then what's going to show for them is either the login or sign up. And then from there, they are moved to the login page or sign up page. So for the second half of milestone 1, the user registration, it involved MySQL and PHP. The MySQL is used in order to properly save each user's information in database, and the PHP is used to collect all of the fields and encrypt the password. Both of these work hand in hand in saving and retrieving the user data in order to create an overall seamless experience for the user. A little bit more details about the code itself. In this first image, you can see where we're collecting all of the fields and encrypting the password. We also set the account type, and with the second to last query, we use that to see if we have any more usernames under that name. If so, the user would be prompted with error username is already taken. And if not, if everything checks out with the requirements, then all of the information is saved and the user is redirected to the login page, which is milestone 2. So as a summary for the testing that was done for milestone 1, for the homepage itself, the testing that was done was by uploading the files to COD and ensuring that the page looked how it was supposed to. How we tested this out was by loading our web page on multiple computers and navigating through our website to ensure that everything was flowing correctly. For the user registration test, because this has more so to do with the backend, I logged into our database on the terminal, similar to how we did in class, and I used the show tables command to ensure that the PHP used for the user registration was properly saving the information and calling it back.
So to start off milestone 2, right? Milestone 2 is essentially just the login and making sure that the user is redirected to all of the proper pages once their account is created. So this part starts with the login, like I said, and it connects to the sign up page where after the user makes an account, they select exactly what kind of user they are, whether they are a buyer, a seller, or an admin. And then after they have created that account, they're immediately redirected to the login. And the login is where all of that information is passed. So that account that they created prior is stored in the backend using the MySQL database. And once the user logs in, the database uses endpoints to verify that their credentials are valid, right? So the code also remembers what role that the user plays or what role that the user has selected when they were in the create an account process. And these endpoints are linked to the MySQL database. So it's just some PHP code that the initial form, the login and login form is just some HTML, which sends them to the PHP form that is the endpoints. And from there, all of those credentials are saved and verified through the backend database. So once the user logs in, the data is passed, verified, and then the user is redirected to the proper page. You can see in the code here on the milestone 2, it takes in the two variables with the username and the password. And then once those variables have been inputted into their proper slots, it proposes a query for the database and checks and says, yo, is there this username in here? And does this username match with this password? And if everything is good, then it asks what their account type is, which is the other third variable that's passed through when the user creates an account. And depending on what that is, it takes them to the proper dashboard, the proper page. All of these pages were just primarily just HTML, some forms. I know some did have some JavaScript as well, but for milestone 2, at least, just the login pages and the making sure all the redirection and everything was okay. It's primarily just HTML and PHP, nothing else. As far as testing goes, it was pretty easy to test this out. Just trying to log in using different passwords. Like I tried to log in using, the right password, the wrong password, wrong username, right username. Tried to log in without filling out certain areas of the form and stuff like that, and seeing if the program would allow me to do certain things. And it works perfectly. It does not let you do, if the wrong password, it tells you you have the wrong password. If you're not putting in the right information or you don't put in any information, it'll tell you you need to fill out this part. And once all that was done, just also making sure that all of the links and all the buttons were working and redirecting to the proper location, which once again, that was easy to test. That was just a lot of trial and error. I definitely think that Scrum helped a lot during this process, being able to using a methodology similar to agile methodology, being able to coordinate with the team and whatnot. I definitely can see how this will help in future situations going into a career as a software engineer and being able to, collaborate with the team and be able to check requirements off of a list, but also having the code flexible enough that we're able to go back and forth and be able to adjust if needed and make changes without messing up too many other things. So definitely see how this can help me and whatnot. But as far as milestone 2, that's is pretty much the end. It's kind of the meat to the sandwich, you could say, because after the homepage and registration is created, both of those connected to milestone 2, which was the login and the redirection. And after all the redirection and everything is set up, it leads straight into milestone 3, which would be the seller dashboard. And it's kind of, the glue that holds everything together and make sure everything goes where it's supposed to go. Without milestone 2, everything is just kind of separated, and milestone 2 brings it all together and holds it there.
Now then, let's discuss milestone 3, the seller dashboard. After checking for an ongoing session, the code begins working with data from models.php, where all of the database items are stored. It takes mainly items from the properties table related to the specific user ID of the person logged in. Then it generates a card on the HTML page with an image for viewing purposes, which I will show you an example of in example 1 later on. In addition to the dashboard, there is also a form that can be used to add new cards to the page. Looking at the code to the left, we can see the functionality behind it. Along with the dashboard is an option to add properties. We first define a variable named add property form, which holds all of the HTML for the form, including the various fields and the submit button. See example 2, which I will show you later on. The action attribute points to our add property endpoint.php file, which takes the information submitted and adds it to our database to appear on the dashboard. As you can see here, this is what a card would look like on the dashboard. It has an image of the property. It has a price. This one goes for about $150,000. It has a number of bedrooms, in this case 4, number of bathrooms, in this case 3, square feet at 5,000, and the address is just 123 Con Street, Bikini Bottom, Ocean, 12345. Additionally, we can also see the form. This is what it looks like after you press the plus button on the slide right here. It'll pull up this form right here. You plug in your price, bedrooms, bathrooms, square feet, and then the address. And once you press this property, which is basically our submit button, it'll show up as a card, just like so. In conclusion, our final project for CSC 4370 Pulse Realty Services is a comprehensive web application designed to connect buyers and sellers with their dream properties. Throughout our presentation, we've detailed the various aspects of our project, highlighting the roles and responsibility for each team member, the creation process, and the key features of the website. Pulse Realty Services represents a culmination of teamwork, creativity, and technical expertise. It's not just a website. It's a solution that empowers users to navigate the real estate market with ease and confidence. I want to thank you personally for your attention, and we're excited to answer any questions you may have regarding our project. Thank you once again.